Hey, this is Olaf. This is our first unit, and hopefully you got through the introductory stuff and we're ready to get going. This is just a quickie. I want to talk about the six main characteristics that all living things have in common. So, if it's lacking one of these things, it is not considered a living organism. It's got to have all six. The first one, and some things that are not living actually have this, like, for example, a brick wall has very good organization. You use straight lines, and you can usually predict where the sequence of bricks will be in. But one thing that all living things have in common is organization at some level. There is some predictable organization. It might be something as rudimentary as you can predict the number of tissue layers. Um, Within an organism, and then some things are very complex. They have two kidneys and a pretty good sized liver and with designated jobs. So all living things have organization at some level. All living things have this in common too. Their fundamental building block is a cell. Cells aren't all the same. The cells inside of our stomach lining are super long and skinny compared to the cells inside of our throat. But plant cells are surrounded by a cell wall, and animal cells aren't. But the fundamental building block of all living things are that they're made of cells. And this is one thing that separates a living organism from a non-living organism. All living organisms are able to metabolize. Okay, at some level, they take in food and they change that food into what they need. So, for in the case of a plant will take in energy from the sun, and it generates that energy, turns that energy into glucose, and we'll take in energy from peanuts that we eat, and amino acids get metabolized into actual structure, muscle. So we metabolize what we take in, and we change it, and that's metabolism. We change the food we eat into energy. The medicine that we take, we change it into the chemicals necessary for our body, say to experience pain relief or something like that. The word homeostasis means keeps same. Okay, so all living organisms are able to maintain homeostasis somehow, some way. There's animals that live at below freezing temperatures, down below sea ice, and they are able to keep a mellow temperature. If you were to take them and thrust them into warmer water, they'd be dead really quick. But keeping things the same keeps our body from having erratic changes. We want to usually have about the same body temperature. Steady growth rate. Our moods and emotions are regulated by hormones often that keep them from being unpredictable and crazy and erratic. So, maintaining homeostasis just basically means keeping an even keel. When we need sudden bursts of energy, we can access them, but not usually for a long period of time. So that's why something alarms you. Sometimes you're breathing heavy afterwards. You're recovering from that. All living things experience some level of growth and development. So the little acorn that becomes the amazingly huge oak, it takes in carbon dioxide, and then that carbon from the carbon dioxide becomes a solid, and slowly over time it builds its rings, and then you have a huge tree trunk. So growth and development, a tiny little animal becomes a bigger animal. Some animals are just tiny versions of themselves, like a little lizard that comes out of an egg, looks just like an adult lizard, whereas some things go through a series of metamorphoses, like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Lastly, all living things experience some form of reproduction, either sexual, like there on the left with the sperm hitting the egg, requiring a male and a female, or asexual, like the amoeba breaking, splitting in half, but some form of reproduction. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. You have to make more. As I go through those six, they might not be the six that normally you would have asked or thought of. Like for example, movement. But you have to remember that there are a lot of living things that do not ever really move. A lot of living things don't make much progress as far as getting from one place to another. Some live their entire lives in one area. They take, for example, a sea sponge at the bottom of the floor, ocean floor. It doesn't really cover much square footage in its entire life, and its life might be 300 years. So, movement is not one of those things that breathing. We hear that also too from time to time. What about breathing? Well, there's some things take in oxygen and require oxygen to be distributed throughout all the cells in their bodies, but some things don't. Um, so respiration means something different to every organism. So breathing is part of metabolism. It's part of helps us metabolize things, but I wouldn't say something as simple as breathing as being a characteristics of life. So all living things exhibit these characteristics. Organization, cells is their fundamental building block. The ability to take in food and turn it into other things they need. Take in gases and turn those gases into other things that they need. And also to get rid of waste. The ability to keep an even keel, even rate, so you don't experience erratic either emotions or body temperatures or levels of hydration. You're able to drink water, and that water doesn't all get stuck on the left side of your body. It gets distributed all throughout your body, even rate. So keeping things the same, that's what maintaining homeostasis means. And then slowly over time growing. That's something a rock can't do. A rock doesn't make itself bigger typically. A snowball might though. So if you roll it downhill, but it doesn't have the other things. And then reproduction, the ability to make another. So otherwise, it wouldn't be around. So those are the characteristics of living things. All right, and there you go. Stick those in your notes.